Okay, we're going to be looking at a fishing and trapping kit that I put together. All of these items fit into this pouch, and it's just kind of a little toiletry bag that I got from a thrift store for a couple of dollars. It doesn't really have any straps or pouch loops or anything. It just has this front pocket, Velcro, and then a main zipper compartment. That's pretty much it for that. Starting out, we've got our fishing kit that I put in this iPod case. I've got 3 lengths of 10-pound test fishing line, some fingertip condoms, little dehydrated towelette. You just get wet and that turns into a paper towel. 2 weighted bobbers, and some trout lures, little synthetic worms for trout, which is a common fish in my area. Some small bait hooks, live bait hooks that have little barbs on them. Those are just meant for small fish. Some non-lead split shot. Some other lures with some bigger hooks. That is pretty much it for the fishing kit. I do have 4 yo-yo reels. Those can be used for fishing or trapping. I've also spray painted these with a camouflage tone. It's kind of a gray, brown, beige type pattern. Nothing very sophisticated. But I mainly do that to take the shine off of the raw metal, so those aren't just sitting out in the sun reflecting, so everybody in the world, including the fish and animals that you're trying to trap, can see them. That'll prevent somebody from coming along and stealing it. So something you can do real quick with these to help them blend in and just take the shine away, so that's why I do that. You'll notice how I have everything in bags. It just kind of keeps everything organized. Nothing will get snagged or frayed if something gets wet. These are going to be waterproof mainly, so I have a lot of little baggies and Ziploc bags that I put stuff in. There are about 6 pre-cut lengths of paracord in here, probably about 2 to 3 feet each. It's nice to have those because when you're tying up snares or traps, you have pre-made sections. You don't need to worry about cutting it and melting the ends. It's already ready to go there. Do have a little cheap pair of scissors. I would have my knife with me if I was setting up traps. But a little extra pair of scissors is good to have for the smaller types of cordage. So we've got the paracord. Then we've got GI tripwire, which comes in yellow and green. That can be used for making anything from a booby trap to actually using this wire for snares itself. I have slightly bigger wire that I use. This wire is actually pretty weak, so if you want to make a tripwire, you could use this, and then use thicker wire or rope for your snares. It can also be used for cordage or whatever else. Then I've got a cheap bungee cord, a coil of snare wire, and some mini blind cord, about 25 feet of that. I do have another section of that, 25 more feet of mini blind cord. And that's just a real narrow diameter, non-stretch type of cord. So it's really strong, it doesn't stretch. It's good for cinching down traps and snares. Then I've got some twine and some nylon rope. So a lot of rope in this kit. I do have a pouch that's actually used for cheap little Ninja Stars. I took those out and actually fit my snares in there. So I've got about a dozen pre-made snares. I just kind of wrap them up into these little coils. They're easy to transport. I do use keychain rings to fasten the snares, and this will go through the other loop. And then you would tie the rope to this part. That way your rope isn't tied to this really thin wire because it could fray or get torn off there. So this kind of helps with that to give you a little distance from the snare. We've got a ton of these keychain rings, so I use them for a lot of different things. And you get, like I said, about a dozen snares. I have room for more if I wanted, and those all fit nicely into this little pouch. So I've got those that are ready to go, and then if I need to make more, I can make about 15 more out of this snare wire. This would technically go with the fishing kit. These are 6 heavy-duty treble hooks. These can also be used to catch land fish, if you will. Now, disclaimer, that is illegal, I know that. I wouldn't ever use hooks to catch mammals unless it was a survival situation or an emergency. But you can tie, you probably want to use rope, not a fishing line. These have nice wide eyes in them, so you could probably fit this nylon rope or bank line in there. And you hang them from a tree, put bait on them. Some unfortunate animal will come along, smell the bait, jump up there, bite it, get its mouth snagged, and it would be trapped. So if you had to, that would work great for maybe like a turkey or something. You know, probably a possum as well. I wouldn't recommend it, it's inhumane, but that could be used to help you catch an animal if you had to. Otherwise, it could be used for fishing. Have a Bic lighter, and then have 4 broadhead blow darts. And they don't really look like broadheads, but they do have a flattened tip to give you a little more of a point on there to cause a little more damage. I don't really know exactly what I would use those for. It could be used for a booby trap type of a thing. It could even be used for if you want to make some sort of handmade frog jig. You could, or gig, you could stab with those. It could be used for some type of human booby trap. I do have, let's see, yeah, right here. This pouch, it is a little Ziploc bag with about 5 feet of Gorilla Tape. But inside there I've got more blow darts, and these are really heavy duty ones with the broadhead tips. And those are basically just nails with this flattened, sharpened tip on there. You can use those for booby traps. You can just set them in the ground, pointing up, bury the tips, and if somebody stepped on those, that would probably go through your shoe and you're having a bad day. So, I mean, I really wouldn't envision this kit used for booby traps, but if you had to, you could use those. Okay, so I think that is pretty much it. Oh, we got one other thing. This, very simple. It's just a piece of plastic. There's no real rhyme or reason why it's in this shape. It just had to be big enough to fit into this pouch. And the thing that it came from, this was from one of those dog collar cones that you put around a dog so it can't lick itself. And the reason I chose that is because it has this side that's really smooth. Now you could use something like a milk carton. It's not quite as smooth, but it'll work probably just as well. But you want a really smooth plastic. I haven't actually seen anybody talk about this before, but the reason that I have this is for use with a snare that has some sort of counterweight. So for instance, an animal gets in the snare, pulls down or yanks on it once it's caught, tries to get away. You've got a rope leading up over a limb that's tied to a rock or a tree limb or a log that's sitting upright. When the animal pulls on it, it knocks the rock or the limb or the log over, which then falls to the ground and yanks up on the snare. And you would basically do like a little counter lever action and throw the rope over a tree limb so that it can use that as a fulcrum or a pivot pulley, and it would slide across the limb. And that's going to create a barrier between the bark and the rope so that you get this nice smooth surface, as opposed to the friction of, you know, something like paracord being pulled against bark, which would probably not even, the trap wouldn't even work at that point, or definitely not as well. So this will give you a nice smooth surface for that rope to slide on, so you don't need a pulley or anything like that. I saw a guy rigging this type of snare, and he was saying how he uses one particular type of tree that has really smooth bark. And that seemed kind of silly that you would have to, you know, go through the forest and only set this trap on the one type of tree that has the smooth bark, when you could just take a piece of plastic from a milk jug and turn any tree into a super smooth surface. So that's why I have that in there. That is going to be pretty much it for this kit. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Going to be doing a lot more kit videos, survival stuff, bug out bags, all kinds of cool stuff. So if you're into that, be sure to check out my other videos. But other than that, thanks for watching.